I wanted to try and find out the answer to that question, and again, a simple answer to that would be it's systemic. But how did I come to that conclusion, and what do we do about it? So I started life at Herbert Smith firm in the UK, and I decided to track the intake that I started with, to try and find out where they had ended up and why they had ended up where they did. And I did a combination of qualitative research, quantitative research, and I also read a lot of the academic papers that are out there and available for everyone to read. And what I found was that whilst my intake, which started off more heavily female than male, whilst we ended up kind of 50-50 practicing law, and I think that's important because I know that some women sidestep and go into professional support roles, or maybe they step out of the law altogether. But from my intake, it was pretty even in terms of those that stayed in fee earning roles. And while 60% of the men in my intake made it to partner, and made it is a term that we could also have a conversation about, but anyway, 60% made it to partner versus 23% of the women. So pretty shocking. And I started off by myth busting and lots of things that we often hear. So it's about access to work. It's because they go off and have kids. That's one that I've heard time and time again. It's because of a lack of role models. All of those things, there were reasons why I didn't identify those as being the reason why women didn't make it. What did have an impact, one, the 24/7 culture, that's already come out a little bit in the conversations that we've been having today. And there's a link there to me to this idea of greedy jobs, and the recent Nobel Prize winner writes about greedy jobs and talks about greedy jobs and the impact that that has in particular on women. The other thing that I found, which was particularly interesting, was what we identify when we talk about this idea of partner. So I invited the people who I surveyed to identify traits that they saw in themselves, but also traits that they identified in partners. And both men and women, and partners and non-partners, had a very similar view of the traits that they thought were necessary to be a partner. And they included things like ambition, assertive, competitive, focused, strong. And they are all words that are gendered, and they are words that can cause a real double, particularly this ambitious, assertive can be a real double bind for women. So it's a big topic, and 10 minutes is a very short time to cover it, but big picture, that was what I found had an impact. And for me, a lot of that then ties into this idea of choice, and the choice that we make. You know, there will be people online who are thinking, gosh, there's an awful lot to take in here. Do I want to make that step forward? And you know, it's a big question, and there are lots of things that people need to think about. But in addition to that, I think the narrative that we tell ourselves, I work as a coach, the narrative that I hear female leaders tell themselves has a big impact as to whether or not we choose to step forward.